Hello, real estate world. I'm Mega Agent Tim Soika and the host of the Tough Talk podcast. Today, we have one of my mentors, someone who's produced over $700 million in real estate, but runs one of the most consistently profitable teams in the business. A man who has spent his career making money, producing money every year. And that's rare in this business. While mentoring hundreds of other agents, which honestly he probably takes the most pride in, and helping to establish one of Katie's most important charities, Chris Hiller has built a business that just should be marveled at. Everyone assumes, I assume, we always assume we're the best businessman, business person in the business, but I personally feel like we were with Lance Loken earlier, one of the best business people I know. I really feel like I'm sitting with one of the other best business people in the business right here. But his past is what drove him. We're going to talk a little bit about his past, where he came from, how he got into real estate. So here we're here with one of my realtor heroes today, and honestly, one of my just heroes in general. I'm being very sincere here, Mr. Chris Hiller. So let's talk about. The Weimers Insurance Group is one of the top independent insurance companies in the country, featuring hundreds of providers. They've recently saved my wife and I over $6,000 versus a rival insurance provider. So for a chance for high quality insurance for home, auto, business, or if you're a developer and need site development, make sure to reach out to the Weimers Insurance Group. You can call them at 281-344-2557 or weimersinsurance.com. That's WIEMERS insurance.com. So if you like saving money, or as an agent, if you need to save a deal, reach out now. Let's start with Rice University. So you're in New York City. So talk about a little bit about your childhood in New York and then how you ended up coming to Houston.
Well,
because there could not be a more different world.
First of all, can I thank you for those kind words?
Oh, no problem.
My gosh.
I just look up to you so much.
Will you speak at my funeral?
Absolutely,
Okay.
I will. I hope you're speaking at mine though.
Oh boy, let's not go there. But no, thank you, and thank you for inviting me on. I mean, my gosh, Lance Loken,
yeah,
and me. I mean, I'm not in the same league, but
absolutely you are. And you run a very profitable business.
Well, yeah, and to get to your question, I grew up in the New York City area. One of the things I remember vividly about my childhood was every Sunday getting the Sunday New York Times, which used to be that thick, and taking out the real estate section and sitting down on my living room floor reading it from cover to cover. Like at
so
the
was
age
your living
of
room
11.
In an apartment?
We had a house.
You had a house,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we were on the North Shore of Long Island. And
Long Island.
I stopped saying it like that about 2 days after I got to Houston and got teased so much. But my friends, they were all doing the Northeastern schools, Ivy League. They might venture as far south as Wake Forest and maybe Tulane. But I had an uncle. He was the Horatio Alger of the family. Left New York, came to Texas, went to law school after the war, World War II, at UT, set up a law practice in Texas City. And he was telling me that Texas was the land of opportunity. And so I applied to Rice, and I got in. And I like to tell people the truth, which is if I had had my high school credentials in Texas, I never would have gotten in. But Rice wanted to expand their footprint and their reach, and they actually had a quota of New Yorkers in every state that they were recruiting from. And I don't know the exact number, but let's say it's 42 in the class of 1978. I had to be number 42. They had to say, we only have one guy left. It's this Hiller guy.
And he got it.
So we got to take him. And so I was very, very blessed. Best 4 years of my life. I had just met the Lord my senior year in high school. And people were nervous about me going away to college so far away. But Rice is where I got discipled and where I got a good education.
So let's give a shout out to Rice real quick. In my opinion, one of the most underrated, beautiful campuses in the United States. Just gorgeous. You can walk over to the zoo. It's an amazing campus. So if you're thinking about a great school that you may not have heard of, but it's one of the top 10 schools in the country, Rice University.
Yeah, I loved it. And the only way that you could be reminded that you were in the middle of a urban downtown area were the ambulance sirens that we heard continuously
Going by.
because of the medical center,
Right
across the street.
Well, Ben Top's not too far away. Well, it's a little ways, but yeah, just hospitals everywhere.
Yeah.
So, that's fast. So you got here, scholarship, or was it just you got in, or was there had to be some financial aid at Rice because it's not an inexpensive school.
It was need-based financial aid, all 4 years paid for.
It helps a lot. All right.
It was a tremendous blessing. Yeah.
What were some of your early? Now you have a really unique path to real estate, which I want to get there. But while you're at Rice, who was like the first person who adopted you, who was kind of a mentor to you?
Yeah, I would say it was a guy named Gary Hampton.
Okay.
We still keep in touch. He was a professor of mine, and I don't know. We just got to be friends, and he became a mentor. He was a business owner. Probably the first time I ever thought, maybe I could be a business owner was by watching him. And he owned a gymnastics business. Okay. And he was actually probably making more owning this gymnastics business than he was as a professor. And he hired me to work part-time for him while I was at Rice, coaching gymnastics. And he taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to react to stressful situations in business, and
because sports parents.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But admired him a lot, and now he's living a wonderful retirement life out in the hill country. But he eventually got a job as a dean of students at Austin Community College.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, Chris, would you like to buy this business?" He actually gave it to me. Wow. And I said, well, heck, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and was in it for 20 years.
So your first business out of college was owning a gymnastics studio. Mm-hmm. And let's set the time for people. What year did you graduate college?
Yeah, 78.
All right.
Taught high school math for 2 years.
Okay.
He offered me the business. So June of 1980,
okay.
I was a full-time business owner for a gymnastics business that went into different churches and private schools, working alongside recreation ministry programs, teaching recreational gymnastics.
So let's set the scape in Houston. So 1984, 1985, the real estate industry, you could buy a home in Houston for dollars, like pennies even. It was...
Oil was $10.42 a barrel.
You
can fact check me.
The real estate market fell from, homes that were selling for $200,000 were selling for $50,000. That's where Houston got the reputation as the most affordable city in the world to live to. So the Houston economy was in the absolute toilet. And your business could never have been better because of one person. And what year did she happen, and who was that person?
Yeah, exactly. So 1984, Mary Lou Retton won the all-around gold medal in Los Angeles. And all of a sudden, I had waiting lists on every single one of my classes. And all the girls were wearing the exact same leotard, right. The Mary Lou Retton leotard. And I actually got to know her and become friends with her because her oldest child was in my gymnastics program. I was her oldest child's first gymnastics coach.
Wow.
And she was an amazing person in person, same personality in person as she exuded in public.
I've never heard anybody talk about her without her being first class. That's the word.
Absolutely.
First class.
First class. Absolutely.
So I think that it's really interesting on how that can apply to real estate too. One person or one instance, again, the rest of the economy is in the gutter, the absolute gutter. And your business was thriving because people's homes were getting foreclosed on, but they were coming up with the money to send their daughter to gymnastics lessons.
And everybody has to pay to live somewhere.
Right.
And just to do the transfer there. And by the way, I never really thought about that.
Right.
So thank you. I realized that might be why I never get too excited about the latest threat to our industry. I know that that's going to pass.
So you and I talked briefly, and I hope you're willing to adjust it here. You said when you were a child, you got to watch some bad business practices. Are you willing to talk about that?
Absolutely.
So tell us like kind of what you saw, how you saw it, and how that affected you.
Well, specifically, you asked me what my big why was.
Yes.
In the beginning. Why, W-H-Y.
Right.
Why do we do this? And, if I'm being completely honest, and I'm going to be with you and the audience, you said, 300,000 people are going to hear this? So
yeah, that's the dream, yes.
More. When I began my real estate career, I was fearful about the potentially bad financial position I might be putting my family in. And so one of the reasons I sold the gymnastics business and started the real estate career was because of the upside that real estate had to offer. And I think the biggest fear I had and my big why was not wanting to put my family in the position that my father had put our family in growing up. And that was a real fear.
Losing a house or what?
Yeah, well, losing everything, really.
Wow.
We, and not to be overly dramatic about this, and don't get me wrong, I had...
Our challenges make us. No, this is awesome.
I had oodles of opportunity. So I was rich in opportunity, great school district. But you mentioned Ben Taub.
Right.
That was the only place I can get medical attention when I was at Rice.
Wow.
Because we didn't have health insurance, and we were on, I get Medicare and Medicaid mixed up on the spot, but we were on the one for people that needed public assistance. And, we grew up in high school. We had food stamps and aid to families with dependent children. And, one thing that did was it taught me pretty early, I ain't asking my parents for a dime. They don't have it.
They don't have it.
And so I started at age 14 working, which in hindsight,
What a
all
blessing.
of that, and you just mentioned it, really, all of that, what people would see as difficulty, I think really prepared me for my professional career. By the way, my dad got it together and became a great dad and grandfather in his later years. So,
but it was a tough childhood. I think I look at the people
tough in that home, in the home environment.
There wasn't that safety net. There wasn't.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a struggle. I actually almost quit Rice to help my mom out, and amazing conversation. She said, "No, your future's in Texas. You get back to Texas. You get back to school. I'll figure it out."
So a quick side note, I remember you talking to me about one of your proudest moments. You took your mom, you completely paid for it, to Paris.
Yeah.
And was it all of Europe? Or talk about that trip you got. So this business can take a lot away from you. It can. Yeah. But you had a great year, and instead of spending it on, you spent it on memories.
Yeah.
Talk about that. What that felt like to be able to do that for your mom.
Yeah. So, my mom was, I'll never forget the year, it was 2014. And so she was 84. And I began to think to myself, if she passed, would I have any regrets? And she had always told me she wanted to go to London.
Right.
And so Maureen and I took her to London. And, while we were there, I talked everybody into taking 2 days to go to Paris.
Wow.
So, I mean, I seemed to be the only one that wanted to go to Paris, but that was a good side trip. And, it was just, and then I could go on with no regrets. So, but a lot of people take their parents on vacations.
Yeah,
hopefully.
But it was really neat. I remember you were having the best year you ever had, and you're like, what good does it do me to have this year if I don't do something like this?
Yeah.
So you and I have one thing in common. How many marathons have you run?
2.
I've run 3, but I think your time's better than mine for the record. But you got to go back to New York City and run the New York City Marathon.
That was my first one.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2010.
What was that like going back to your?
So I had seen the marathon in the early 80s. I had gone back to visit some friends, and we watched the marathon. I thought that would be really cool to do one day. And then I went on a weight loss journey, fitness journey, around 2009, 2010. And, they used to have that show, Biggest Loser.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd have all those people running a marathon
Right.
at the end of the show, the last episode. I'd be like, man, if they could do it, I could do it. So I trained for it, and I just got lucky and got into the New York Marathon, which is
Hard, yeah.
a lottery. The first time I applied, I was one out of 11 chance of getting in. But to go back was amazing. A lot of amazing things about that race specifically. But the interesting thing about running, because I ran that and I ran Houston. In New York, even though I grew up there, I didn't have this concept of, oh my gosh, I have to run all the way up First Avenue, then across Harlem and back down Fifth Avenue to Central Park. I didn't. That didn't have an impact on me as much as when I got to the corner of Woodway and Chimney Rock in Houston, and I thought, I got to run all the way downtown from here. So it was good, and it was a beautiful day, and it was like 4:32 was my time.
Wow. And
I spent at least 2 minutes stopping and taking pictures with people who were up there to watch me. So I could.
So based on timeline, your mom was your mom in New York? Did she get to see you?
Yeah, she came. She was at the race. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about your past that really influenced you? I don't want to miss anything because it drives us. I tell people the fact that I had to work through college and high school is the biggest blessing I've ever had. And look, you can give things to your kids, and you can, and we probably give too much, but the best thing you can give your kids is time with you and a work ethic. Well, and a relationship with your Lord Jesus Christ. That's first, right? But
I appreciate you saying that.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you one other thing that I had an uncle who was 9 years older than me. He was like a big brother to me. He was an Air Force pilot. Afterwards, he ran a charter business, and he died in a plane crash. He had dropped off some customers, and flying back to New Jersey, he crashed into a mountain and died. And I was at his funeral, and one of the people who worked for him, he was the manager, owner of this charter service. She said to me that, every time an employee of this company was going through any kind of work-related stress, Jeff would take it off of our shoulders and take it upon himself. That just stuck with me all the way through owning the gymnastics business, and I think, right into my real estate business. And that is, focusing on the people that I partner with, and, looking at their life, any work-related stress that they're going through, and being able to be in a position to take that off of them. And I think if I hadn't heard those words, I would have been a different kind of boss my entire life if I hadn't had that conversation.
It's funny how just one conversation like that can change everything.
One of the people on our team is just killing it right now, and she had to be in two places at once on Sunday, and my wife drove up to the Woodlands to show one house.
Wow.
To people that she didn't know and never met for this person on my team.
That's what a team is. That's why you join a team, so you have that kind of support. What would you say? We talked about some of the secrets of your success already, and I know that. It's the hard work, and it's that one piece of advice. And by the way, I find one of the best things guys like you and I can do is just be encouraging to everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. There's some days it's tough because there's some days I just want to ball up and cry, right? But one of the best things I can do is be encouraging, and because people expect that from us. They want us to be encouraging, and it's not a mantle we wear. It's not hard for us. That's what we do. We're encouragers. What would you say are some of your real secrets of success besides that?
I think the biggest thing for me is understanding what my two most important assets are. When someone asks you, Tim, where do you get most of your business? Let me guess what you say. Repeat and referral.
Right, yeah.
Repeat and referral. Any agent that has a well-established business, that's going to be their answer 90% of the time. Well, how do you build a business based on repeat business and referral business? Well, it's protecting what I believe are the two most important assets. And the producer was just in here and he said, your most important asset is time.
Right.
I'm going to beg to differ a little bit with that, because if you waste your time, you could always work double the next 24 hours to make up for the time you wasted. But there are two assets that we have that if you lose those assets, you'll never get them back.
And they are?
Your reputation and your relationships. And those are the two things that build a referral and repeat business. And the Bible says that a good name is more precious than silver and gold. Paraphrasing a little bit. Why is that true? Well, if you lose silver or gold, you can just work hard and make it back.
Right.
But if you lose your reputation, it's very hard to get back.
I'm listening to the Explorers podcast right now. It's a great podcast, and I'm a history junkie, about Christopher Columbus. And he was the most powerful man in Spain, and then he lost his reputation. And it's a deep dive, but it is really interesting that how much that affected everything going forward. Your reputation is everything. We had a guest in here a few weeks ago, and his was protect your name. Like, you have to absolutely positively protect your name and do the right things. So, again, I told you I could not.
And sometimes that costs money.
It does.
And sometimes you have a business expense that you do not to be nice guy or be charitable,
right?
But you have a promise that you feel like you have to keep, and sometimes that means opening up your wallet.
And a hit to get a deal done, to do the right thing, and sometimes it absolutely hurts. So I would say, and I think you would agree, I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but a lot closer to your way. We had a guest in, Lance Loken, who is famous for taking huge swings.
Yeah.
Huge swings. And again, he did $668 million, $700 million in a year, it was billions of dollars in his career. And I just went blank on the number, but it was billions and billions and billions of dollars. But he's going to take some swings that I'm absolutely not going to make.
Yeah.
I am a hit a singles and doubles guy, and that is your database. Hit singles and doubles. And yes, I will swing occasionally for that triple and home run, but I'm not a home run swinger. That's not who I am. I want to build a consistent business, and I don't think anyone's done that better than you. You don't spend a lot of money marketing. You don't spend a lot of money advertising. You and I had a talk early on. You're like, Tim, I live off my database. And I think at the time you told me 80 to 90% of your business was directly from your database.
Yeah, from my own personal business. The people I partner with on the team, they are grinding it out, lead generating.
Right.
They're all getting to that repeat referral point.
But you built a business, and you can correct me if I'm kind of wrong on the numbers, somewhere between 40 and 60 million a year. You were hitting really consistently from your database.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how profitable
Not quite
was.
that high, but it was good.
But it was
making the bills.
Yeah, and it was all from your database. That's investing back in the people who you already know.
You just made an interesting point.
And by the way, that's the cheapest investment you can make. Like, your database is cheaper than anything.
And that makes it so easy to say no to the people who call trying to sell different programs.
Shopping
it's
carts.
Like, I did do that in the beginning, by the way, for name recognition. However, if I'm not doing what's free and most productive, which is touching my past clients and even following up leads. I mean, lead follow-up is kind of sometimes replaces the need for lead generation because people don't follow up the leads that they have. I'm going to do that before I start spending money. But you made a good point about not wanting to be Lance Loken.
No, I love Lance. I would love to be him, but I can't. I can't. I don't have the risk tolerance.
Well, let me just tell you where I'm going. So, you are Tim Soika, and I can't tell you. And for anybody who's tuning in and doesn't know the dynamic, it's like you're number one and I'm number two. And my wife always wants to know if I beat Tim this month. But there have been so many times and that I've thought to myself, when was the last time Tim Soika did this? And I'll give you an example. And it was a deal I did with one of the people on your team last summer. It was a little bit of a rough final couple of days. And the garage, the morning of closing, was not done, in my opinion, in a way that was going to get us
To close.
to the closing table is in the summertime, I spent 3 hours cleaning that garage.
Wow.
And you can fact check me on that with your team member.
Wow.
And the whole time I was doing it, I was thinking, Tim's not doing this. Tim's not doing this.
Oh, wow.
Tim has not done this in a long time. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not Tim. I'm me. And I think a mistake, if you're asking me that people make, is trying to be someone other than who they are. And at that moment for me, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not even saying that was really smart of me not to have some kind of plan for getting that garage cleaned if it
But
wasn't
you got it
done.
cleaned.
But my reputation and my relationship with that client was riding on that garage getting cleaned, and I didn't want to lose either one.
By the way, when we first got the moving truck, I had a lady who assumed because I had a moving truck that I would help her move. And I literally, I was wearing a suit that day. She called and told me I was moving her that evening. So I took off my coat.
Okay, so you've done it.
I wasn't quite down to boxers, but it was, I think I was in T-shirts. So yes, I have done it, but I haven't cleaned a garage recently, although I have cleaned them, not recently. So that really is, I respect Lance's business, but I have to know I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I respect your business, but I know I can't do it. And I think that's it.
You have to be who you are.
You have to be who you are.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the really tough conversation you had with Fred Wright one day. So you had started out and you said he had a conversation with you that changed your business. And by the way, I think one of the best things you can do is have honest, tough advice with people and be willing to give tough advice, not be a cheerleader. Being a mentor means you're not a cheerleader. It means you're a mentor, right?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
difference. Talk about how he mentored you that day and how it changed the course of your career, because you, not overnight, after that conversation, your business changed greatly.
Yeah. So, like so many people that start a career in real estate, the first few months seem awful rocky. You know, you have doubts, you have fears. Have I made a mistake? And in the first 4 months of my full-time real estate career, we had Tropical Storm Allison, 9/11, and Enron went belly up. And I was like, what have I done? I've given up a perfectly profitable gymnastics business for this commission-only thing. And who the heck is going to buy or sell a house now that the world is falling apart? And so I began to think that maybe this wasn't for me. A lot of fear and anxiety set in. I was losing energy. My wife was very concerned about me. And what I was going through was basically clinical anxiety and depression. I thought it was an attack from Satan, or it was some kind of spiritual thing, or just, was tired or whatever, but it was really a clinical thing. So, and I'm skipping a lot of things here, but two things I remember about Fred Wright. And if you're in the Keller Williams system, team leaders are the absolute
Super
heroes in our.
Shout out to Mark Keith right now,
Yeah,
Terry
absolutely.
Montgomery. Yeah.
Exactly. Michelle Collins.
Right.
So one day I had an agent that was a particularly difficult agent. I was a new agent. So I called Fred on a Saturday morning. I asked Fred, I got to talk to this guy, and I don't have the energy or the words. I just can't, I can't do it. He goes, I'll make the call. Now for him, it was nothing.
Right.
And for me today, that call would be like, oh, let me make it.
Right.
So,
oh, absolutely.
So I love to do that for agents. But he made that call. The guy called me back 15 minutes later. So, I'll get the thing signed now. But you didn't have to bring your broker in on it. He called him a broker in there. So, but Fred knew I was eyeing the exit door a little bit. And it wasn't really a tough talk, but sometimes people see more in you than you see in yourself. And he came in, he looked me right in the eye, and he said very clearly and directly, I know what you're going through. Many agents have gone through it, but I want you to know you have what it takes to go anywhere in this business that you want. And I took it to heart. I really trusted that and stepped out in faith, kept going. And a couple of months later, things began to turn around.
I don't know anyone who has put more energy into training other agents to be successful than you. I don't know how many classes you train a month, but I know it's a lot. I may be up there training at the office once a quarter. You really invest in training and helping other agents grow. That seems to be really important to you and a really important part of who you are. You seem to get as much from it as you give, but why is that important to you?
Well, and it goes with why I'm at Keller Williams. I was a teacher. That's what I studied to be. I was a high school math teacher. Then I was a coach. So teaching and coaching are kind of what I like to do and what I feel I'm good at. And when you think about it, every real estate transaction we have, we're coaching our clients.
Right.
We're guiding them. We're teaching them. And so good teachers make good realtors.
By the way, if you're a teacher out there, generally some of the best realtors we ever see come from the teaching profession. Stay as a teacher if you can. Our kids need you. But
but as far as the training, there's this expression, paying it forward, and no one succeeds alone. That's a great Gary Keller ism. And if it wasn't for people like Fred Wright and many others, I would not be a real estate agent today. I would not have the success I've had over the last 25 years. So, it's pretty easy when other offices try to recruit me, and I say, I'm here to stay. I have a debt I could never repay to Keller Williams, but one way that I can pay it back or pay it forward, I don't understand that expression, is to train and to be available, just like Fred was for me that day on that Saturday in November 2001. Yeah.
So you and I had a great conversation several years ago, and I'll never forget the conversation. You said to me, the one thing you and I have in common, which a lot of agents who are top producers don't, is they believe they're in a world of scarcity, and you and I believe we're in a world of bounty. I don't know if you remember that conversation.
Yeah.
But I would congratulate you when you got a listing. You would congratulate me, and you and I always push each other in the most positive ways. And I think having that person that's that positive that I get to compete against is just such a blessing. But you really do feel like the real estate world is a world of bounty. If people are willing to work, there's plenty to be had out there.
And that's deep ingrained in, and this show isn't about Keller Williams. I know that, but the whole mindset of Keller Williams, I mean, they were the first company to share profit. Right. That comes from an abundant mindset. Right.
By the way, we're broker agnostic, and we have other companies on, but you're a Keller Williams guy, and that's okay to talk about the company you love. Again, when we have RAO on here, they'll talk about what they love.
Yeah, I'm not on here to recruit people to Keller Williams, but
it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Like, people come on here to recruit. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I want to talk about, which is a side note, and we'll give a shout out to some of the people who are part of it. You helped create with a lot of people, Fred Wright, Becky Underwood. I know you can give me other names. One of the most important charities out here. And let's give that charity a shout out, and how you guys had this idea, and it started with just a little house and what it turned into. And let's talk about the Ballard House, where it came from. Give the Ballard House a shout out, because it's something not unique to Houston or unique to Katy, but something you guys really created.
Well, I think it's pretty unique to Katy. I like to say that if Katy is a large house, the Ballard House is the guest room.
Right.
It's a 40-room hospitality house on South Mason Road that provides free housing, no strings attached, to patients and their caregivers traveling to Houston for treatment of a life-threatening illness. And the project started back in 2005 when our CEO, Mo Anderson, gave each market center a challenge to do a project so significant that it would leave a legacy in the community.
Shout out to Mo Anderson. Great job.
Shout out to Mo Anderson, and a shout out to Gail Huffman and Kathy Gergenti, the owners of our franchise, who came back from that. It was at a convention that those words were spoken, and they came back and said, "We're going to do this." So they formed a 501c3 called Cinco Charities. We formed a board. You're alluding to the fact that I was a founding member of that board, but there are hundreds of people and thousands of man hours from a lot of people that brought that initial concept and grew it into, with the help of some a very generous family.
Right. Well, so let's
And
just
so
talk
we
about.
decided to name the house after that family.
Well, yeah, they deserve that.
So, yeah.
But you guys just had this humble idea, like we're going to buy a house and a couple rooms and everything.
yeah.
And you take the idea, and Monty Ballard, right? Monty,
Yeah.
said, "I think we can do it bigger," right? So you had this little core of an idea, and it really speaks to when you're out there in the world doing good things. Other people notice, and you don't know how blessed you're going to be. So talk about how you guys have this conversation thinking of something small, and he's like, I think we can do more.
Never would have imagined in a million years
A 40.
it becoming what it was.
Right.
So we started raising money, and then we thought, if we want to keep this going, we need to start doing what we chartered to do. So we simply started paying for people's hotel stays at those extended stay hotels on I-10. And we were budgeting an amount every month to do that. And that's when you alluded to Erin Ballard. Excuse me. She was a patient at MD Anderson, and MD Anderson had really gotten on board with us. They were the first outside of Keller Williams entity that began to support us. And Erin said, well, and Monty said, this is great. I've got a rent house that they can have for $1 a year, and that enabled us to now house 3 people at a time for free.
Wow.
And then, I don't know, they just opened their hearts and their wallets and said, what if we just bought the land and built the house for you? And they're an amazing family because they've done this without any conditions, no strings attached. They didn't ask to be on the board. Excuse me. Just an amazing philanthropic.
But it all started with Mo Anderson saying, "Hey, let's do better."
Yeah. And
then Gail and
Kathy
coming
took it up.
and
Yep.
That's awesome. I love that success story. So what can you do in your community as a real estate agent, as a real estate broker? What can you do in the community? What I guess I'm challenging you is go out and do it. Do something big. Think big.
Yeah, we actually kind of thought it would be a competition between all the Keller Williams franchises. People had to get on board, and it really started at the top with Kathy and Gail. Nice. I just got to say that.
Yeah, they are incredible. They've poured into both of our lives so much. I look up to Kathy and Gail so much. All right, so let's talk about your success team currently, but I know it all starts with Maureen. So go back and talk about your success team. What does that look like for you?
Do you mean the real estate team that I lead?
I'm just saying success team. You go from there.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the Chris Hiller team.
Okay.
So I have a couple of different ideas, I think, than a lot of people have when they think of a real estate team. For example, the language I use, I don't refer to them as my people or my buyer's agents or my whatever. They're my partners. Okay. I partner with them. I never say I hire them. I say I partner with them, and I invite them to partner with me. I don't hire them because, for one thing, they're independent subcontractors, so they're not even employees at all, and I'm not their boss. And I think what I try to impress in my team is the difference between Team Heaven and Team Hell. Can I explain?
Please.
Yeah.
Team Heaven and wait, set up. Team Heaven, Team Hell. Here we go.
Okay. So here's Team Hell. The team gets a pie at the beginning of every month. And during the course of the month, every person on the team does everything they can to make sure they get their share of the pie. Which, by the way, going back to your comment a few minutes ago, that's the scarce mindset.
Right, absolutely.
So Team Heaven is at the beginning of the month, the team gets a pie, and everybody on the team does everything they can to make sure that everybody else on the team gets their piece of the pie. That's an abundant mindset.
And bake more pies.
There you go. And I think that's fitting with the culture of our company. And I think it's also served me well. We have as much of a discussion on the Chris Hiller team about more split rather than less split.
Yeah.
you really knocked this one out of the park. So we're gonna, and I'm sure you do that on your
We
team
do.
too.
If something comes from their
split
sphere,
here.
they get paid more.
Yeah.
I look for more ways to pay them more.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a great problem to have. I always look at I would rather have some of something than all of nothing. I mean, I'm always going to be that way. Is how much can you help the other person? And there's some rough months that we have in real estate. No matter how good of a business you run, there's going to be a month you lose money.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that everybody knows it's going to be okay. That's our job. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But have I paid for things? Have I made things happen to get people where they need to go? Absolutely. And it hurts because sometimes those are the months where you're hurting too. So it's really all about can you build people up? It is. And I don't know of anybody who does that better than you.
Well, you're too kind, but
Do you have a like staff too? I know you have other salespeople.
Yeah.
So talk about your
So I have what I would call my CEO,
Okay.
a woman named Fiona Bright. She's
Sharp.
Yeah, she's sharp, and she manages the team, including me. Then I have a make-ready consultant. I think I know what you meant by success team.
Right.
And I've got a listing system in place that starts with a visit from my make-ready consultant, who also works with the photographers that we like to work with. Of course, we have our sign company that delivers the signs, and we have our kind of go-to inspectors.
Right.
And I have 2 appraisers that will go out and measure a home for me on a moment's notice. They're a real blessing.
Our stager, we use Cindy as our stager. She's amazing. People really undervalue what a stager can do. So I tell people I have my staging certificate. I do. But if people hear it from me, the older guy who doesn't look like he has a lot of style, no. But if Cindy goes and tells them the exact same thing, it's all cooler. Also, the advantage of having a stager is if people ask you about their house and you say anything bad, you might not get that listing. If you take the listing and then send your stager in to do it,
pay them to say the bad things.
Hey, when you go by, if you could mention, it smells like.
Right.
So the number one thing to stop homes from selling to me still smell, but that's a side note. All right, so who else in your success team do you want to talk about? Like I know we got Markeith now and Terry and the whole team there at the market. The market center team's great, but who else would you say is in your success team on the outer borders?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Karen Clements and Lloyd Hampton.
Amazing.
If you're asking for people by name.
Right.
We're very blessed to have both of them in our office, especially Lloyd. I don't know that there's a non-attorney that has more knowledge about real estate than Lloyd Hampton, and he's always available. And we get into it a little bit once in a while.
Right.
We tend to differ in opinion about a few things. And it turns out that he's right at the end of the day. So
he has literally written a book on real estate, several of them. So
yeah.
So I think the thing that I've always been impressed me the most about your business is my business can do a little of this or a lot of that.
Yeah.
Your business pretty consistently stays within a range. It's not like you have an insurance company or everything where you're receiving, the ongoing payments, but you seem to really keep a really steady ship. I'll have months where I'll finish first, and I'll have months where I'll finish 7th, but you're pretty consistently going to finish 1st to 3rd.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. I think it's accurate, except these last 3 or 4 months, it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Just to be completely honest, we're trying to get through this little period and come out on the other side. And I see a lot of improvement. I think 2026 is going to be a great year.
All right, so that leads us to state of the market. So there's always an agent having a great year. You get to pick if it's you or not. What would you say the state of the market looks like for this coming year for you? And how do you adjust to the market?
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm really watching expenses and keeping tabs on that. There are people that have been on the sidelines, that have been in my pipeline, waiting, and I see a lot of movement there. People are finally, we talk about golden handcuffs, and I think either the golden handcuffs being people are trapped in their homes with 2.5% and 3% interest rates.
And they're
they
gorgeous homes.
and they don't want to give that up, right? Even though their life circumstances might have changed where they need a different type of residence, moving from a parenting home to a grandparenting
or
home.
downsizing, upsizing, whatever.
Exactly. And people, I think what I'm finding is that people are either just tired of waiting and they're saying, forget it. I'm not getting any younger. We need to make the move. Or, other things in the economy. The stock market's doing pretty good. People's investments are doing pretty well right now. And maybe they feel like they can, take some money from there to make the move. For whatever it is, starting to see listings come on the market and more buyer activity. Our open houses have been very well attended. I'm a big believer in open houses. Yeah.
In the beginning, I spent a lot of time at open houses building my business. So a lot of realtors don't think they're valuable anymore. By the way, I think they're more valuable for listings than buyers, but that's a side note. But what value do you see in open houses?
Yeah, well, because of the internet, people have a whole lot of insight into what's on the market, what's available. They pretty much know everything about a house before they go and see it. So who needs a realtor to go see a home if it's being held open? And so we've sold a lot of our listings by people who have come to our open house and decided it's the house for them, and then they contact their Aunt Sally or their brother's, cousin's, uncle's friend to help them, buy the home. And so I feel like it's in open houses have had a history of being more relevant and less relevant. Right. And I think now they're very useful. We have a lot of rules now we have to follow.
Let's do some open house scripts. You want to play? Can we play open house scripts?
Oh, golly. Okay.
All right, so open house scripts. So my favorite is, ready? Welcome to my open house. I'm so happy you're here. When people come to an open house, they come for two reasons, Chris, just two. One is because they're interested in buying the house. The second reason is you're a neighbor that just wants to see how can that home be selling for that. Which are you?
I love that. I can't top that.
And the script that I want him to say, well, I'm number two, I'm a neighbor. And then I want to go, well, if this house is getting $500,000, imagine what I can sell your home for. Yeah. So that's one of my open house script. Hit me.
Oh, boy. I'm probably a little bit more less salesy. Again, I got to be me.
That's all right. I can handle it.
Welcome to the open house. Did you see this online? Right. Or did you follow the signs in? Now it's always online because you can't, not supposed to put open house signs out. Right. I'll ask them what attracted you to this home. I'll ask them, are they familiar with the neighborhood? Because at that point, I can really, really tout location. So that's kind of where I go. I get them to sign in, and I tell them, please put your real estate agent's name if you have one, here, so I can follow up with them.
The agent.
Yeah.
And if they don't?
If they don't, they don't.
All right. If you're here, you're obviously interested in what homes are worth. Would you like to know what your home's worth? I can stop by right afterwards.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that. I like that.
So I love that. I am very script driven. You know that. And I tell people, just because I'm using a script doesn't mean I'm not being honest. It's who I am. I have spent years working on the words that motivate people, and that's just how I'm built. It doesn't mean I'm not sincere. It's just I'm a script-based person. Yeah. I came through the stand-up comedy and things like that, and you are more relationship and relaxed, and both of us have been very successful.
Yeah, I think I probably look for more commonality with people, similar experiences, or if they're looking at a home in Greenway Village where we raised 4 of our kids, I'm going to talk about
great neighborhood.
How that was a wonderful place to raise our 4 kids. So,
what's the biggest mistake? You said this is what you're looking forward to. All right. Biggest mistake you've seen agents make. You said this is the part you were looking forward to.
Oh, okay. Well, there's I think just overall we shoot ourselves in the foot as an industry in not elevating the professionalism of our industry. And we do that in so many ways. But I think one of the things that agents forget is that the client is not coming into our life and joining us on our journey for the next 2 months. And I think that a lot of realtors see it. They're going to come into my life, so I need to change this and that about them before I let them enter the realm of, the Billy Bob real estate consulting business.
Right.
It's the exact opposite. We are being invited by them to join them and guide them through the next stage of their journey. It's their journey. We're getting in their raft and going through the rapids with them as their guide. And that might seem obvious, but what it means is, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that means we got to listen more than we talk. We have to really focus on their needs and not assume that we know what's best for them. And that's a mistake I've made in the past, is making assumptions about my client that were wrong, and almost screwing up the deal.
Bob Pollard talked to me once. He said he showed up at a listing with one of his good friends, and he just came assuming he was going to sign the paperwork, not knowing it was an interview. Yeah, it was his friend, but he had to interview for the job, and they went with someone else. He goes, because I think he'd said
that's exactly
he wasn't as prepared as he needed to be, because he thought, hey, this is John. John's going to list with me, just going in with that assumption. So
yeah.
I think a mistake I see agents make a lot is every time you go on an appointment, it's a listing or buyer opportunity. Every person you meet with, it's a listing or buying opportunity. Not treating it like that is key. I went on so this guy had his home listed, and I'll never forget, I go out to the guy's backyard, there's a huge orange tree, and he was about as country as you can get, and I go, when did you plant the orange tree? He goes, I didn't plant it, it was a volunteer. He goes, I spit an orange seed there, I got an orange tree, right? And so I sit down with this guy, and I gave my listing presentation. I said, I just happen to have the paperwork with me. And he goes, this is my 4th listing appointment, and you're the only person who brought the paperwork. We might as well sign it.
Yeah.
And so I think not being prepared for that listing appointment, like show up being prepared, is it's a mistake that I see a lot of people make.
Yeah.
Not assuming you have the business. I'm not saying you don't show up with a packet assuming you have the business, but you show up with, at least I'm going to take a shot.
Yeah.
And people not being prepared enough for that appointment. Like when I'm showing a house, I want to have, in the old days, now we have all the paperwork differences, but when I showed a house, I showed up with a buyer rep agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go ahead and get them signed. I wanted to get them going. I wanted to get them with me. I assumed every showing meant they wanted to work with me. So I kind of went that route. And just seeing so many agents who would just casually show a house and consider it an inconvenience. How many agents do you see that are showing a house and they seem put out by it? So
yeah, there are trainers that seem to focus on training with the goal to get people out of production. They've even said words like, you don't want to be going on listing appointments when you're in your 70s, do you? So you got to do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, I like going on listing appointments. I don't see an end to that, and I don't see if you have to love what you do in any field, and this is a horrible profession if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like people. Right. And getting back to the whole thing about being able to meet people where they are, they're, especially with listings, more than half the time we list a home, the sellers are going through a negative thing in their life. They're selling because of death, divorce, illness, loss of job. Even a relocation can be a stressful aspect of their life. And you have to keep that in mind. This is a hard time for them. It's a stressful time for them. You got to listen.
I would say we all have our strength. One of the biggest mistakes I've made, I could be a better listener. By the way, everybody in my family would agree with that. I could absolutely positively be a better listener.
Yeah.
But when I'm at my best, that's exactly what you do. You listen to people. This isn't a business where we really are selling people, despite the scripts. And scripts, I think scripts are important. Not everybody does. Despite the scripts, we're here to make people's lives easier. That's it. If you worry about making people's lives better, you make money. If you worry about making money, you don't make any. And that's one thing, that's the biggest truth about real estate, is if you just keep making people's lives better, you're going to make money in this business because people want to use you.
I think another mistake people make, and I start off all my trainings like this, I have people introduce themselves to each other, and I say, use this script. Hi, my name is Bob Jones, and I've owned my real estate sales and consulting business since September of 2014. Insert the day that you got your license.
Right.
And then I asked everybody, okay, honest answer, who just found out that they own a business? I think that is probably one of the big hindrances in our industry, because that goes in all different directions. If you don't understand that you're a business owner, that you own a business as much of a business owner as a restaurant owner.
Subway, franchisee.
If you don't understand that, you're going to think of that commission check as your paycheck rather than revenue for your real estate business, which is going to determine everything about, how you use that check. And you do go through certain stages, and eventually you get to the point where you are treating your business like a business with a profit and loss statement, watching expenses, looking at what's working and what's not working. And the decisions you make are business decisions. If you charge less commission than you normally charge for a particular person, you're doing it because it's a good business decision.
Right.
You're not giving up part of your paycheck.
Right.
You know.
Anytime someone asks me, it's a lot easier to get creative with commission when there's commission to get creative with.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes people ask you to give them a deal when you're like, one of my favorite stories. So several years ago, I worked for Nestle. Ready? You ready for this? This is a fun story. So there was a trade commission, or this trading group that I called on, and we gave free samples of Taster's Choice. So we literally gave them free samples so they would give it to people and sell it overseas. About 6 months into the business, the guy came to me and he goes, I want you to pay me to take your samples. And I said, excuse me? He goes, well, I'm selling all your product. He goes, for every sample you give me that I give away, I want to make this much money. And I'm like, or I could just give the same samples to your competitor. And he goes, no, our range was good. Right. So he was trying to take money. There was no more money to give. I was giving free samples. So if there is money to be made, I look at every commission. Again, can I do this? Can I do that? Does it make sense from a business standpoint? And you don't think enough people do that.
Yeah, well, I think that, again, the decisions they make, they don't make from the standpoint of whether or not it's good for the future of their business. We have a term for that. They're transactional agents. They're focused on just this transaction and getting this to the closing table, and not focused on the fact that they're building a business.
Right.
So,
what's the biggest mistake you think you've made in business?
Assuming. Did I already say that?
Yeah, but it's still it can be your answer.
Yeah, I think assuming, and there's so many things. When I first started out, I get a lead, someone who didn't speak English as their first language, someone who didn't think like I thought, someone who ate food different than food I ate, and I thought to myself, this person's never going to trust me. I'm so different than them. How are they ever going to trust me to help them with their real estate need? That was an assumption I made that was so wrong. I must have left so much business on the table because I assumed that only people who looked like me, thought like me, and liked the things I liked would trust me to be their realtor. That's just one example of so many areas that we make assumptions. I had a buyer once, and I tell this story in a lot of trainings, so people who are listening have probably heard it. Family friends went into a house. All they could do is talk about how bad the house was. Everything was wrong with it.
Just leave. I tell people, like, don't tell me bad stuff. Just leave.
No. They said, let's go ahead and offer. So they made a low offer. Of course, it got rejected. And I said, no, they're going to be fine that it was rejected. They hate the house. 2 weeks later, they upped their offer. Gets rejected again. I said, they're going to be fine. They're still talking about how bad the house is and what's wrong with it. And time went on. And about 2 months later, they called me on a Sunday night. I was just getting off of a church meeting. And he said, Chris, we decided we're going to go full price. We're going to buy that house.
Wow.
And I called the listing agent, a very well-known listing agent. You know his name. I know his name. And he said, "Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. Relocation buyers were in this week, and they had to buy a house. They bought it. We signed a contract today."
Wow.
I thought to myself, they're not going to be upset. They hate the house.
Right.
Well, apparently, the wife cried for a week, and the daughter, who was a friend of one of my kids, probably banished my kid from the lunch table for the
Wow.
next week, because apparently they didn't hate the house. They loved the house, but I never asked any questions about their motivation to own this home. I was assuming, all along that because of the comments they were making while I was showing the home, that they could take it or leave it. Big mistake.
But they love the house.
They loved it, but the house they ended up buying, much nicer, much more expensive, and they're much happier in. So it has a happy ending. But at the time, I thought, I'm never going to do that again.
All right, so I'm going to throw out a mistake here that's kind of a big one. It's not necessarily mine, but I think it's a big mistake. I can't tell you the number of times I've been with a buyer, and I know what you say, you don't work a lot of buyers anymore, but when I did work a lot of buyers, I would walk through a house and the buyer would say, do you remember the old days where people would have like that one piece of furniture with like the TV and what's it called, the big consoles? And
oh, yeah. Entertainment center.
We can't buy the house because our entertainment center won't fit here. We can't buy the home because our couch won't fit here. We can't buy the home. And for years, for my first couple of years, I would let people get away with that. And by the second year, my script was, when you buy a new house, you know what works great? New furniture. Yeah, or I even one time I think I offered to buy, like, hey, if that entertainment center is getting in the way, I'll just buy it. Like, let's just move past the entertainment center. But letting people just have one reason not to buy the house and taking time to explain to that person, like, if you're looking for the perfect house, we are not going to find it today.
No.
And the story that I use a lot here is, Kobe and Shaq, when Kobe was alive, they had this huge rivalry. And when they were both playing for the Lakers, Kobe went and bought this $5 or $10 million house, and he was so disappointed because it wasn't as big as Shaq's house. And if Kobe Bryant couldn't be happy spending $5 or $10 million to buy the perfect house, then you're not going to be happy buying your house. Yeah. There's going to be a weakness in the house. And I guess maybe not coaching people early enough to get past that, like realizing, look, if this is an 8, we're probably not going to trip over a 10. Maybe we should at least put in an offer. So I think that's a mistake I made early enough, not getting people off that one negative.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And, it's the things you can't change about the particular piece of real estate that are important.
Absolutely.
Location,
yard,
lot size. Yeah.
I think letting people eliminate houses too easily is one thing, but realizing, I tell people there's really only 4 things that you should look at when you buy a house. So this is a script that I built throughout years. When you look at a house, you should look at the foundation, you should look at the roof, you should look at the AC and the flooring. Those are the most expensive things. And if you love a house and all 4 of those are bad, you just need to know you've got a lot of money to spend. But I'm hoping 3 or 4 of those are good. And a long time ago, I got a lot better at being a buyer's agent when I said, look, I'm not going to make any comment on your house. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. While you're looking at the house, I'm going to look at the roof, the AC, the foundation, and the flooring. And if those things are okay, I'll just point that out to you. That's all I'm going to do. And realizing that I can't tell you the number of times I walked into a house and said, what a piece of, and before I could finish that, my buyer's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm talking about, assuming.
Yeah, the number of times I've walked into a house and said, this is beautiful. And my buyer's like, this is a, so yeah, I think that's important. So
yeah, and that goes back to, we're on their journey,
Absolutely. That's what you started with that. That's so important.
Yeah. We're guiding them through that. And it's a lot like guiding someone down a river as their raft guide. You're approaching the rapids. You tell them what they need to know to be prepared for entering the rapids. And then when you get to the rapids, another raft comes up along yours.
Right. And
you have to work together to get both rafts
through
to the calm water on the other side. It takes cooperation. And that's another big mistake I think that I see and that I used to do too. I have to win. I have to beat the other agent. I have to out-negotiate them. But no, that doesn't work. You gotta work together. It takes cooperation and professional respect for other people.
I said this in an early podcast, but I haven't said it for a long time now. Chris, and I think you're going to agree with this. In every negotiation, every single one I've ever done, there's a point in the negotiation where I have the advantage. And in every negotiation, there's a point where the other agent has the advantage over me. If when I have the advantage, I abuse that advantage, I can't be surprised when they use their advantage over me. But if I treat them with grace and class when I have an advantage, hopefully they will do that with me too. And when I have agents that go for big wins against me, they forget that there's going to be a time
you're going to lose.
You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wait for that time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pull the rug out from under you so fast, it's going to hurt really badly because you didn't play nice when you could have. It's not me. It's not an ego thing. You were taking care of your client. Now I'm about to take care of mine. And this is going to hurt a little. So just remember, play nice, play nice, play nice, play nice.
We're always looking for the win-win.
Right.
And one thing I always tell my buyers is that at the end of the day, you're going to wonder if you could have gotten the house for less.
Right.
And I tell my sellers, at the end of the day, you're going to wonder if you could have sold the house for more. It's universal. It happens in every transaction. You'll be 90% happy with your transaction.
Right.
Buyers and sellers are each going to be 90% happy.
Right.
Now, you may discuss it with your wife for the next 10 years because according to my wife, I gave my house away in 2020.
Right.
But she and I have discussions about that.
But you have a great house that you love now.
Oh, absolutely.
So this next section is a tough talk. And this is my favorite part. This is the part where we're like 2 drinks in. So I'm a whiskey guy. What's your beverage of choice when you're going to drink?
Adult beverage, I would say IPA beer.
Okay, so I want you to picture yourself a couple IPAs in, and I'm now a couple glasses of whiskey in. What's the tough advice that you would give people that you wouldn't say in class when you're being, the sweet, encouraging Chris Hiller, the really tough Chris Hiller that Fred did that for you one time. He was there for you. He was able to speak words into you. What tough advice would you give people?
I wish I could sit down with every agent that I see make inappropriate social media posts that do nothing but continue and elevate the narrative that real estate agents are just nitpicky, gripey, money-hungry egomaniacs. Yeah. There are things that I see on social media that high school students would get suspended for. It's called cyberbullying. I've seen agents throwing other agents, sending messages through Facebook posts about how they were done wrong and done dirty. And my first question when I see these posts, I'm like, is this, and I don't know enough about social media, and I think to myself, is this on a public, facing page, or is it just like in a realtor environment? Sometimes something would be appropriate in a realtor group, but not in a public facing group. People that ridicule their own clients for making bad decisions. And
wow.
And it's, you haven't seen this
I haven't been on Facebook in a decade now.
Yeah. Well, that's my pet peeve.
Right.
And that's my tough talk. Right. Is we have to ask ourselves in everything we do, are we driving a narrative that we are as high-minded professionals as a doctor or an accountant or an attorney, although some people would say attorneys are not that great, but do we view ourselves that way professionally, or do we not? Because so much of what I see makes me wonder, you don't see yourself as a professional, even the language we use. One thing that drives me nuts is, the question, and it's common, everybody uses it. How long have you been in the business? Have you ever heard one doctor ask another doctor, hey, how long have you been in the business? No. That's what 2 hookers say to each other on the street. Not that I've ever heard that, firsthand.
You've been married a long time, yeah.
Yeah, but the question is, how long have you owned your real estate sales and consulting business? Right. Because that's what we are, and that's what we do. And just even couching it in those words elevates the level of professionalism that we have.
One script that I got down early is I did a lot of transactions pretty early, and someone said, how long have you been in the business? And I said, in years or in transactions? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, right now the average realtor does 2 to 3 deals a year.
Yeah.
I did 76, so I've been in business 30 years, if you want to look at it
like
that way.
Dog years.
Right, yeah. So I think selling our professionalism is important. So I'm going to say this in the toughest way possible. If you want to build a business, if you want to be respected, if you want people to respect your name, which we talked about, your reputation is everything. Praise publicly, critique privately. Period.
I love that. Yeah, that's
Praise
exactly
publicly,
what I'm talking about.
right?
Yeah.
So if we're going to go Facebook, praise the world publicly on Facebook. It should be a happy place.
Yep.
Call someone personally and tell them your problem with them. If you have to call their broker, call their broker.
Yeah.
Praise publicly, because if you criticize publicly, everybody knows more about you than the person you're criticizing.
That's exactly right. You know, there are people that their Facebook posts are all about how they rescued the deal, and it's like deal after deal after deal. This was a tough one, but we finally got it done. And then they tell the story, and I want to say, you know, if all your deals are this close to falling apart, you might be the problem, you know,
Absolutely.
in the transaction.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that just drives a narrative that we're just, you know, kind of gripey. Be professional,
Right.
you know, and be consumer focused instead of it being all about us, the agent. It's all about our clients and serving them where they are and who they are and what their needs are.
On the social media post, let's use the Morgan Whalen line. Are you ready? Right? If I'm the problem, you might be the reason.
That's right.
I love that line.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So why should someone call the Chris Hiller team? And we'll have you talk. We're going to look in that camera right there. Why should someone call the Chris Hiller team? Phone number. You can find Chris Hiller really easily online, but why should someone use your team?
You know, we have a great team of people that are full-time and dedicated to the client. Phone number is 832-687-6366. I think we do go the extra mile in terms of listening and meeting the needs of our client. We will go far geographically. We'll list, you know, far from our office. We'll show homes far from our office. We'll take really any client. It's not about the price of the home or what's at the end for us. It's about the client, and we value all clients equally and want to work to help them reach their real estate goals.
A shout out to our guest today, Chris Hiller. Of course, Kevin Massey with Go Long Studios. If you want to have something produced here in the Houston area, I recommend Go Long Studios. Or, I'm going to throw this out there, Kevin. I don't even know if you're ready for this. If you're someone looking to set up a studio, Kevin has systems in place, and he might be able to franchise a studio with you and set you up to be successful. Kevin, I think this is a franchise waiting to happen. In upcoming episodes, again, we have some of the biggest agents in the country. Gary Keller said he may come on. That's exciting.
Wow.
We have one of the founders of RAO coming on. If you enjoyed us, please, 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 please hit the follow button. Follow us on our socials. And if you know anybody buying or selling in the Houston area that's not going to use Chris, you can call us at 877-313-SELL, 877-313-SELL. Thanks for joining us on the Tough Talk.
And thank you, Tim.
Honor to have you. All right, boom.